Kathleen Sgamma with Western Energy Alliance. I'm the Vice President of Government and Public Affairs.
Let's start off by just talking a little bit about, let's start off by talking a little bit about your organization, what it is you guys do, what you guys are trying to accomplish, and how it kind of started.
So we have been around since 1974. We are a trade association representing over 300 companies engaged in all aspects of environmentally responsible oil and natural gas development. We cover the West, so North Dakota, South Dakota on West. We purposefully leave off California. So we work on promoting the benefits of domestic energy production, as well as helping our members navigate environmental, legislative, and other federal issues that affect the industry.
Okay, great. So want to talk a little bit today about BLM auctions, and then also, are you guys following the pipeline protest here in North Dakota? What are you guys making of that as an organization? Have you guys come out with anything official on that protest in North Dakota? Are you keeping your hands out of it, I guess? Just as an organization, I guess, where are you guys at?
Well, it is such a volatile situation that I think it's best to wait and see what the facts are. It's getting a little crazy up there. When you look at, the documents from court and the facts in the case, clearly the company building this pipeline, won in court because of the fact that careful analysis was done. The tribal consultation was initiated, but basically ignored by the tribe. And now, instead of engaging in that process, people have just taken to burning tires and cars and confronting police and trespassing on private land. So that situation is probably a little too volatile right now to say much more on. But I think it points to why the Bureau of Land Management is nervous about the safety of its employees when it comes to lease sales. We saw the director of BLM making a connection between protests of lease sales and the standoff in Oregon several months ago, because government officials are trying to engage in lawful activity, and protesters, really pumped full of a lot of misinformation, are starting to be disruptive, and even in the case of the Dakota Access Pipeline protesters, getting violent. So I think BLM and other federal agencies are rightfully worried.
You mentioned something about BLM lease auctions. They're protesting there. I guess I wasn't aware of this. Are you talking about similar protesting that's going on in North Dakota? Maybe not to the scale of tire burnings and that sort of thing, but where they actually kind of set up camp and that sort of thing? Is that happening with BLM auctions?
No, not setting up camps. So North Dakota leases are sold in Montana. There's a combined BLM office for Montana and the Dakotas. That is that's in Montana. So I haven't heard of any protests necessarily at that office, but there have been protests in Utah, Colorado in particular, where they have disrupted the auctions, and smaller ones in Wyoming as well.
And so what we're seeing, I guess, is with these protests that are happening, I'm looking at it like it's made quite a financial impact in a lot of different ways. Obviously you've got the pipelines themselves not being constructed. So anytime you have construction being delayed, you've got a cost there. But just even pipes in the ground that are now more valuable because of some of the protesting that's being done. And into environmentalism, I guess. What are you hearing, or what are you guys looking at in terms of the finance side of things with this whole protest with everything that's happening?
Well, I can't speak to the specifics of the pipeline's particular finances at all, but we have a situation where for several years now there has been more oil produced in the Bakken in North Dakota and Montana than there is pipeline capacity. So companies have taken to putting that on rail or putting it on trucks and transporting that way while the pipeline infrastructure catches up. But really, there are 2.4 million miles of pipelines in the United States. Transporting oil via pipeline is much safer, more environmentally friendly, more protective of public health than putting it on a truck or a rail car. So, and pipelines, and this one in particular, has to go through environmental analysis, went through all that. They have to use the latest technology, and those new pipelines are even more safe. You think about 2.4 million miles of pipeline, and how often do you hear of any accidents? Not too much when you look at how much product is, pushed through the entire United States every day. So, those pipelines are built in a way that is protective of the environment. But that information has been completely lost in, once the camps started getting set up and the protesters and rioters and saboteurs started their work. And so we've really seen a situation when misinformation about the process and how we get energy and how we deliver that, it's been lost in all the shuffle.
Now, getting back to the BLM, taking a step back with some of the protesting that's going on and just some of the, we'll just call it the volatile emotions that can come with public land, fossil fuel, combination of the two, and it's extremely volatile. I saw where they're going to be doing some online auctions. Are you aware of this? Are you guys endorsing this? Are you not endorsing it? Are you talking at all about the online auctions that the BLM appears to be moving towards?
Yeah, we've definitely been pushing BLM to move forward with auctions, online auctions. eBay has been around for about 15 years or so. This is not new technology, and this is BLM simply moving forward with the latest technology. We did take the opportunity when there were several protests of lease sales where protesters, have get their signs on, they put on funny hats or whatever, and in one case fish heads, I don't know, whatever, and they purposefully disrupted a sale in Utah and had to be thrown out. There was a sale in Colorado where about 300 protesters rushed the doors of the BLM venue and tried to shut it down. And so we did suggest to BLM that, look, instead of having to deal with this circus when trying to conduct a lawful activity, the Mineral Leasing Act requires BLM to hold quarterly lease sales in every oil and gas state. When you're seeing these protesters trying to disrupt those online those auctions, a good solution is stop paying for additional security forces, stop paying for new venues where you have to, put in security. Just go to known technology that everybody uses for, everything from buying sneakers to whatever. Use today's technology. Now, that does not mean that the public cannot participate in the leasing process. There are 3 points at which BLM accepts public comments on every parcel that's offered for sale, and so that will continue. The public could still engage in that process, but let's just move to today's technology.
Would there still be a physical sale, or would it be online only?
It would be online only. And
is there anything would this open up to more buyers potentially, less buyers potentially? Anytime you make a move like that, it's one thing, but I could see where, it would open up to people outside of that physical area, where on the flip side, I'm sure people have business models in place where people go to those all the time and buy them at the physical place. So anything as far as opening up new buyers or closing the door on current buyers?
Absolutely. This is projected to bring in more revenue to BLM and therefore to the American taxpayer, because those revenues go to the state and federal treasuries. By not requiring people to physically travel, more people should be engaged, should be able to engage in that online bidding process, and that will only, more competition will help increase the rate of return to BLM.
Okay, and was there anything else that you wanted to comment on today at all in terms of just kind of what we've been talking about? Anything we'd missed? Anything that you want to make sure we talk about?
I think, well, we talked about, the connection about protests. Well, I guess, maybe we could talk a little bit about the Keep It in the Ground movement and others who are just trying to stop all oil and natural gas development at all. The misinformation about what powers our economy, what heats your home, and what provides electricity means that people think that we should just stop producing oil and gas. Well, if we did that, we don't have any other energy means that can heat our homes and provide reliable 24/7 electricity. So what would happen if we stopped producing it here in America? We would lose jobs, we'd lose economic development, and we would just import that from overseas, import our oil and natural gas from overseas. So that means we'd be sending hundreds of billions of dollars out of the country. That just doesn't make sense from an economic standpoint. And we developed oil and gas here in the United States more environmentally responsibly than anywhere else in the world. Our environmental standards are stringent for pipelines, for drilling wells, for all aspects of development. And so if we don't develop it here, we're bringing it in from overseas where it has more environmental impact. It just doesn't make sense.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your time today. And if there's anything else down the line, too, that we can get out and get some information out, be sure to let us know.